everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you once again for being here for our incredible SonRise Project call that we do every Sunday. We welcome you in a safe space that's filled with love and compassion and our desire to heal ourselves and our families. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And this morning, as I say those words, I think about our very special guest and the courage she has had with her organization called Silence the Shame, which has been phenomenal. And I'm actually wearing my Silence the Shame 10th anniversary t shirt this morning that I love. And Shanti Das is just a force to be reckoned with. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Shanti was with us last in 2021. So it's been 5 years.
Wow.
And she came back willingly, and I'm so grateful for her to be here. But let me tell you about her before we jump into today's conversation. She's a speaker, author, podcast host, entertainment industry veteran, philanthropist, and mental health advocate, having worked in the entertainment business for over 25 years. Her music industry career, from intern to executive vice president, included promotions and marketing positions at Capitol Records, LaFace Records, which is where we met, Columbia Records, Sony Urban Music, and Universal Motown, where she worked directly with some of music's top talent like Outkast, Usher, Prince, TLC, Tony Braxton, Erica Badu, and many, many, many more. On a personal note, Shanti openly has discussed her depression and anxiety over the years and has experienced loved ones affected with mental health disorders. This led her to step away from the labels in 2009 to begin using her pain for purpose. In 2010, she decided to establish her own nonprofit, the Hip Hop Professional Foundation. And then it was rebranded under the name Silence the Shame, which many of us, all of us probably have heard of and know about. It's incredible. And she has led the way with Silence the Shame since 2016. So it's now 10 years strong. Silence the Shame has received global awareness, becoming a commonly used hashtag to normalize the conversation in America around mental health. In 2018, the National Day calendar recognized May 5th as National Silence the Shame Day. In 2019, Silence the Shame was awarded one of 5 awards by the American Psychiatric Association Foundation for advancing minority health. And in 2023, Shanti formed a new brand, Mebo, focusing on mind and body wellness. The brand is launching a new podcast called The Mybo Show. Am I saying that properly, Shanti? Is it
It's
Mybo?
Meebo.
Mebo, said it right the first time. Okay,
Yep.
Mebo, focusing on mind and body wellness. And she is interviewing musicians, actors, athletes, corporate executives, and high achievers around their mental and physical wellness journey. What's so incredible about Shanti also is she just did this past week an incredible, incredible conversation that I listened to that will be coming out soon called The Power of Black Joy, where she talked about how we can all manifest and create joy despite everything that's happening in the world. So, Shanti, first and foremost, welcome and thank you for being yes and coming back this morning to share with us.
Kelly, good morning. It's such an honor to be here with you. And hello, Dr. D. Thank you for all that you do for this incredible organization.
We're so happy to have you. I have loved you since I was at BET and you were at LaFace and just
Same.
watching you in your journey. And I want to start by you sharing with everybody here how you came to start Silence the Shame. I mentioned a little bit briefly
Sure.
why you started it, why the need is so huge, and then what you're doing, with it currently, please.
Absolutely. And so I too adore you, Kelly, and I'm so proud of all that you've done in
Thank
entertainment,
you.
the civic community, and beyond. And just greetings to all of you this morning who decided to spend your Sunday morning with us. I bring you greetings from Atlanta, Georgia. Again, my name is Shanti Das. I am a mental health, former music executive turned mental health advocate. And this work is really personal for me, Kelly. My father
Mhm.
died by suicide. We were just talking about our parents before we got on. And so, unfortunately, my dad died by suicide when I was just 7 months old. and
Wow.
growing up in Atlanta, Georgia in the 70s. And so my dad was actually of Indian descent. My mom's African American. So I didn't know my dad or know anything about his culture and how suicide was looked at. But once I got older, I learned that there was a lot of stigma, even in the East Asian community, around mental health and wellness. But my mother raised three young kids. Um, and it was tough for us. We didn't talk about my father's suicide. She leaned heavily on her faith, which was fine. But
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had have gone to counseling as a family, and I saw my
Mm-hmm.
mom suffer quietly and was depressed. My dad didn't leave a note. So that was kind of our entree into mental health awareness and the
Mm-hmm.
trauma of it all. And so fast forward.
But when did you find out that he died by suicide?
So it's interesting. I can recall being in the fifth grade, I'm sorry, in the kindergarten, and we would get around in circles and say what we were doing for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
remember saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go visit my dad." And so I said it more than once. And so because I thought I could go to heaven or wherever he was to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, my teacher and my mom had to sit me down and explain that my father was deceased. But then also, my mom tried to explain to me that he had taken his own life. And so that made me very angry. For
Mm-hmm.
many years as a child, I told my mom, don't bring that man's name up to me. How could he do that to himself? How could he leave us? And so
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't understand it, but it made me very, very angry. And so I wouldn't address it. Now, my sister was 9 years older than me, and she went on to, once, she graduated and went to college, she first went to counseling when she was in college. So she was 9 years old at the time when it happened. And so
Okay.
she went to counseling again when she went to college, but I never went until, I started experiencing like adversity and stress and anxiety in
Mm-hmm.
the music industry. And so for me, as you mentioned, I had a really great career. Very grateful for my time in the music
Mm-hmm.
industry. But when I moved to New York, so I was at LaFace Records for probably the I guess 8 or 9 years, and then in 2000
Mm-hmm.
I followed L.A. Reid to New York City, where he replaced Clive Davis, and it was more of a
Mm-hmm.
corporate setting, and that's really when
Mm-hmm.
I started dealing with stress. And my boss at the time, not LA, but someone, the new boss, was very condescending. He was yelling all the time. I was like, what is this? Like, we weren't used to
Mm-hmm.
that at LaFace because it was more of a smaller family boutique
Yes.
environment. And so I remember one day I was at the airport at LaGuardia about to go to Miami to cover Babyface on an MTV shoot. And I was just so stressed out. I felt like I was getting overlooked for vice president and everything else that was going on. And I said to my boyfriend at the time, I said, maybe I should just kill myself.
Oh.
And I know we've said that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, in passing, people might say that, but not really mean it. But it scared me and it scared him, having known what had
Mm-hmm.
happened to my dad. And so he encouraged me to call my sister that night. 'Cause if you'll hear my sister reference a lot throughout this hour, because she
Mm-hmm.
my everything. So anyway, that is when I first, Kelly, started counseling
I
probably
see.
around 2003, 2004. And she was like, you got to go deal with dad's death because it's clearly still impacting you. You have a lot of questions. Please
Mm-hmm.
just go to therapy. And so that's what I did. And that was the first
Mm-hmm.
time experiencing therapy. And I went for about 3 months. And after that, I thought I was okay. I kind of,
Mm-hmm.
stopped going and then jumped back head first into the business. Because by that time, I was vice president of marketing at Columbia Records and just working my way up the ladder, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, you know how the business can be. It's
I
ups and
do.
downs and all kind of rounds. And so in 2010, I decided to step away from my career. And that by that time, I was working under Sylvia Roan. I was kind of like her number three
Mm-hmm.
person at Universal Motown. I had was making $500,000 a year, corner office,
Mm-hmm.
all of the above. But I still was dealing with a lot of stress in the workplace. My mom was starting to develop dementia, which would eventually turn into Alzheimer's. I had an uncle who helped to raise me, I had just found out he
Mm-hmm.
had cancer. So it was so much going on in Atlanta, as well as what I was dealing with. And I just was in a place of so much stress that it caused me to have some physical health challenges. I had gotten
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with cervical spinal stenosis because one day I was in a taxi going to Harlem for a meeting, and my entire right side went numb. And of course, it
Wow.
frightened me. I couldn't feel anything. And so I went and had all these tests done, MRIs, and the doctor said that it was a result of stress because they couldn't find anything else.
Wow.
So I made a really tough decision and walked away from at the height of my career.
Hmm.
Who knows where I would
Hmm.
have now had I stayed? But God always has another plan. And so I went back
That's right.
home and things were okay for the first couple years. I had a nest egg. I was still doing some consulting for like Johnny Gill and Kelly Price and Vivian Green, some
Hmm.
great artists.
Hmm.
Started a live music showcase here in Atlanta. And then fast forward to 2014, I was about to get on an airplane to go on vacation out of the country. And I talked to my best friend, and I knew she was dealing with some health challenges as well. And so I waited to board the plane late and
Hmm.
landed like 10 hours later. And then once I dropped my bags at my apartment and went to get lunch, got a call that she had shot herself.
Mm.
So by the time I literally had to race back to the States. So I didn't even, I wasn't
Mhm.
probably out of the country for 24 hours. And so
Mhm.
I made it back, but she was already brain dead. And so it was the exact same way that it
Um,
happened with my father. So you can only imagine what that did. It kind of sent me into a downward spiral.
mhm.
I blamed myself for her death because I was one of the last people to talk to her. I was trying to figure out what were the signs, what did I miss. And so, long story short, that sent me kind of into a spiral. Even though I was high functioning, I was still working and going to
Mhm.
events, but
Mhm.
I was really hurting a lot on the inside. And so, Kelly, I came close to taking my own life in September of 2015.
Mhm.
I'm not embarrassed about it.
Right.
Um, not proud of it, but it's just, it gotten to a point where I thought that was probably the best solution. And so, uh,
Because of the depression and the pain and the guilt and the shame and
it
all
was
those
just so
things.
much. And then all the
Mhm.
unresolved trauma of my father. And I thought if
Right.
dad did it, maybe it's okay. It was just all these things going on in my head.
Mhm.
So I had gotten out of the house that night that was in question because I had counted up all the pills in my medicine cabinet. And, again, God always intervenes. I was
Yes.
literally driving around and went in this random furniture store, but I had a girlfriend that lived on the south side that happened to be there at 8 o'clock at night. Nobody was in the
Mm.
store. I'm like,
Mhm.
what are you doing over here? But she could tell I was in distress. And so I don't
Mm.
even remember. Everything is kind of foggy, exactly what I said to her. But then she convinced me to call my sister, who told me to call the suicide lifeline. And I did that. Now you can just dial
Oh.
988. Back then it was
Right. It was an 877 or all
yeah,
the
one eight
things.
hundred two
Mhm.
seven three talk. And they
Mhm.
helped me for about 20 minutes. And then I also texted my pastor, who I'm a member of Ebenezer. So
Mhm.
Dr. Raphael Warnock is my spiritual
Mhm.
counselor, as I say. And he said to me, he said, I'll pray with you, but you got to get help. He said, because he and
Mhm.
some of the other people in church knew that I was struggling and going through some things. And he said, this time it's okay. You got to get help, meaning
Right.
go to the doctor, see a licensed mental health professional. And so that's what I did. So I started on my antidepressants and they really helped to level things out for me. And I just started openly sharing and talking about my journey and was doing a radio interview. And I said, I don't know why people are so embarrassed to talk about mental health
That's right.
challenges. I said, we should just silence the shame. And that's how it was born.
That's
Really,
how it was
it just rolled
born.
off of my tongue.
I love that. And I love that you reference that God works in mysterious ways and there's always divine intervention, that your girlfriend was in that furniture store at that time and that you
She
called
lived
your
on the other
sister.
side of town. No
Right.
reason for her to be there at that time of night.
Right.
So
Except
random.
God said, go help your friend. And
Mhm.
then you called your sister. So many people don't make that phone call.
Yeah.
When you called the suicide, that lifeline. That's such a blessing that your friend was there and that your sister was
Because
there
I
to
don't
take.
I don't know that I'd be on this Zoom today had they not
Right,
intervened.
right.
I was, people ask me like I just kept hearing subconsciously like kill yourself. So it wasn't like I was hearing, real audible voices, but it was like subconsciously these racing thoughts. And so I really was afraid and that's why I just got into the car and
Wow.
got out of the house because I don't. know what would have happened had I stayed in the house.
Right. No, it's so good. I had a moment similarly when I was at the height of um the situation, I'll call it, with my eldest, and was in Florida. And I remember this was 6 or 7 years ago. And I still, it was before Hurricane Ian, and I had a car there. And I was thinking, maybe I just drive the car into the ocean, into the Gulf. Because of the, like, I just was, couldn't get, it was massive depression at the time. Didn't really know what to do, but it was so painful and so much
Mhm.
guilt and so much shame and so all the things that you talked about. I thought, well, it'd be so much easier not to be here.
And that's
And
it.
thankfully, something hit and said, no, because your mother would be devastated. And you have friends and your children. Why do that to them? But there was a moment, for sure, more than one,
Mhm.
where I thought about it, and I'm sure many people have. So, all that to say, I am happy you're here with us today,
Same.
and thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest because you just shared your turning point. You know, you were this I remember high powered executive leading some of the biggest stars in the world, and then had this turning point, this
And
change.
I'll be honest with you, Kelly. I've always seen the great work you've done with the agency, with BET.
Hmm.
I was terrified to tell colleagues and friends like you
Right.
that
Exactly.
I wanted to take my own life because I didn't know
Hmm.
if people would still respect me.
Yeah.
Would people call me crazy? Which I don't think I'm
Hmm.
crazy. I just think I'm human, right?
Yeah.
And it has been quite the journey, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised at the friends and family members and
Hmm.
texts and DMs that I would get saying, I've
That's
been
so
where you
good.
are, or my family
Yeah.
member has been where you are. And so that was in 2015, and 2016
Yes.
really when I started ramping up and sharing some online. And I thought, you know what, God, okay, I'm gonna just trust you and follow you. I don't know where this path will take me. And I just started talking to other like-minded women whose family members had gone through similar situations. I had one lady whose daughter had completed suicide, and she was only 13 years
Hmm.
old. Then another friend, her son attempted, shot himself, lived, but went through a tremendous amount of surgeries, and so had
Mm.
challenges, but lived to share his story. And so these ladies, we started volunteering together, and I knew I wanted to do something. So we
Mm.
just started creating materials and pamphlets and trying to get on panels to just to open it up.
Yes.
And again, this is pre-pandemic, so people weren't, as open about it,
That's right.
particularly in the entertainment community and even in, the Black community. And so
That's right.
I'm just grateful for the work we've been able to do. As you mentioned, we're 10 years in. Uh,
Yes.
we have 6 employees. We have some wonderful programs. We focus a lot around youth and young adults. We have
Yes.
these youth coach trainings that we do, which are trainings where we do like a 45-minute just training around general mental health and wellness, but we also add cope activities to it. So we teach young students how to have healthy ways to cope. So we try to meet them where they're at. We might even like teach them how to DJ, teach them how to, build a bike or
Yeah, that's great.
incorporate other wellness activities like a Zumba or, any fun activity, right, that you can think of
Yes.
for young adults. But we try to incorporate mindfulness around it so they understand
Right.
the connection and the importance of that. Also, one program I'm proud of is Silence to Shame University. So we've
That's
had
awesome.
funding the last 3 years in the state of Georgia, where we created a 6-month leadership program for college students at Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Georgia State University, and I think a couple at Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State. We've graduated 70 students in the last 3 years.
Amazing.
So we're hoping that we can get more funding to take that national. And then we also have these parent cafes because, if you train the child, you want to make sure the parents are educated as well.
That's right.
We do a lot around parental mental health and wellness, and we do these monthly online free webinars called the Parent Cafe where parents can join. And we've just been doing really great work. And then finally, I'll just talk about our workplace wellness. We have a kind of a fee for service program just to try to add more to the organization from a corporate perspective. And so we do
Hmm.
corporate trainings around mental health and wellness. We have like 9 different subjects you can choose from around burnout, grief, unresolved trauma, overall mental health and wellness. And so we just did one for Google here in Atlanta. We've done them for like Sony Music Publishing, other organizations. And so we're hoping to grow that piece of the work
Hmm.
that we do for corporate solutions. And so just really proud of we're that,
Yeah.
little engine that could. And it's certainly in this climate and environment with this administration, it's been a challenge. We lost some funding in May, got some of it back. But
Yes.
this truly is God's work, and it's so
Yes.
many people that are still suffering. Just last week, I was doing a talk and met 2 people who were going to funerals of Black
Right.
children that had taken their own lives in the last 2 weeks, and I thought
Right.
we still have so much
We
work.
have a huge problem, especially with our youth and with older people too. And so I think it is the biggest issue of our time. We looked at the data, and you know this, of course, bigger than cancer, bigger than cardiovascular disease, it's mental health. And the rates of suicide attempts are growing.
Yeah,
That's everything. So I want to ask you, mentioned just now, you mentioned going to funerals of people who had children that died by suicide. And I know you have a book or a grief
yeah.
manual. Can you share about that and show us and tell us how we
Yeah, and
can
first I'll tell
get
you
that?
why. So I've added kind of yet another slash to my bio. I've added grief advocate. So
Okay.
I told y'all a lot about my sister who was, again, helped to raise us when our dad died by suicide. She was 9 years my senior. She died unexpectedly in 2019. She was on vacation in Cancun with her
Mm,
daughter on spring break, and she had hurt her leg. She had a leg injury about 3 months prior to that, and that was the first time she had flown. So we think a clot had been forming, and she and her doctors were just not aware of it. But
I'm so sorry. You were very close to your sister, and I know that.
that is an understatement, Kelly. I did everything with my sister. I'm not married, I don't have kids. So every holiday, we would talk 6, 7 times a day. She was
Mm,
my accountant, my best friend, my gossip buddy, my spiritual advisor, you name it. And so to lose her really, it almost set me back too on my mental health journey, because it was just out of nowhere. And so our mom had Alzheimer's, and so I became my mom's sole caregiver. So I was going back, they were in Charlotte. I was going back and forth to Charlotte all the time. And then mom passed in 2022, and it was like the world just stood still.
mm,
I know everybody on this Zoom call has experienced grief and loss in some capacity, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a marriage, the
yes.
loss of a job. It's so many
Hmm.
different ways you can grieve. But my particular guide is around grief and loss of a loved one. So it's 30 tips on navigating, I'm sorry, a guide to navigating grief, 30 tips for healing after loss. And so these are just some tips that worked for me, and I felt like they needed to be out. 2 years ago I released this little guide. It's called Have Yourself a Merry Little Griefmas. So it's
Oh,
20
that's
tips on
funny.
grieving around the holidays. So a couple of the tips might be the
Okay.
same, but these are like two things that I'm really proud of. I just had a funeral home in Atlanta, buy 50 of them, and insurance agents are buying them for their clients. But more importantly, it's something that can sit right by your bedside, or you can send to someone
Hmm.
instead of flowers.
Yes.
I'll read one of the tips.
And where can we get them before you read? Where do we get
It's
them? On
so
your
there.
website?
Oh, and here's the thing. I created a free. Thank God for AI. I have I'm gonna put it into the chat. So I made a free website for grief. It's interactive. It's guideforgrief.com. I even have a free PDF that you can download if you have someone that passes away. It's a funeral checklist. So many family members, we talk about
Hmm.
this too, things that we don't do to prepare for the loss of loved ones. And so I'm just trying to provide a service to people that can really help them during this, really tough time. Like tip
That's
number
great.
3 is set boundaries that protect your healing. People will offer advice, expect you to move on, or invite you to things that feel overwhelming, and it's okay to say no. I once forced myself to attend a gathering after a loss because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I sat in the room, surrounded by laughter and conversations, but I felt like I was trapped underwater. The noise was too loud, the expectations too heavy. I left early, ashamed that I wasn't
Mm.
strong enough to stay. But later I realized I wasn't weak and I was grieving. And so
Right.
it's just some really practical tips that I think people can relate to in this book. So just proud to
That's fantastic.
add grief advocate to what I do. And I'll be honest again, sometimes, I sit and I look at social media and even this weekend, not all because so much of the business has changed. So it's not a lot of labels like it used to be, but even just seeing my friends and colleagues there, like I don't have business in that space right now. And then financially, I
Hmm.
can't just afford to be in LA for 4 nights, living the
Right.
fabulous life like we did. Um,
I understand.
but
I
but then
completely understand.
the next moment, God just kisses me on the cheek, and I'll go somewhere and meet a stranger that goes, "Are you the silent ashamed lady? My husband is here because of you." So this work is,
Oh,
I appreciate all you said for me and the organization, but God is just using me as a vessel, and so I had to
yes.
accept that this was my assignment from God.
Yes.
To help around mental health and wellness, and now hopefully to help around grief and to use my pain as something that can help others.
I love that, Shanti. And your
So I
quote,
have to
God
keep giving him
kisses.
the glory because it keeps me from being sad too, and keep me
Yes.
from wondering like, why did I walk away from this huge career? And you know, what is it you want me to do, God? So, and I've always been a spiritual person, but I've never had the relationship that I wanted to have with God that I'm trying to build now. And if I can
Yes.
just trust him enough to know that this is for his glory and that he will always take care of me,
Yes.
and that's what keeps me moving forward these days. So I spend a lot of quiet time and moments with myself these days, just still trying
That's
to
so good.
find Shanti. And I just got baptized again last year, and I'm really doing the
Mm.
work for me. I'm not there yet, but
Yes.
I'm working hard on me as I continue to try to help others.
This is such a journey. And I love what you just said. And I think, what you also just commented on around turning your life over to God and knowing that He's going to take care of everything, and then asking for His assistance with everything we do. Because I overstand walking away from a huge career,
Yeah,
starting an agency. It's a very different world,
yes,
very different world. And to your point, years ago, we'd both be out in LA this weekend and on an expense report and all the
right.
things is very different when you're running your own thing
That's
or
right.
you're really leaning in. What you've done 100% is leaning into your nonprofit.
Mhm.
And that takes so much courage and faith and that you are doing incredible work. And so I'm grateful for everything you do all
Oh,
the time. I just listened to your joy. You shared it with me. You did a beautiful thing for the beach experience called The Power of Black Joy with phenomenal guests. And I loved every second of it.
oh,
So I just want to say you're doing phenomenal work and everything you're doing in Atlanta and nationwide is helping so many people. So I want to just say that. And I love
thank you for that. And
God
I could
kisses me
not
on the
do,
cheek.
and he put great people in my circles who have mental
Yes,
health experience. And so I didn't know how to start a
yes.
nonprofit or so I have an amazing executive director with years of experience. So I'm just grateful.
Yes, it's awesome. I want to open up the floor if anybody has any
Sure.
questions for you or comments or wants to share anything.
I would
Please feel
love, yeah,
free.
please.
Yeah, please feel free to come off of mute if you have a question or a comment for Shanti, who is just a force, fantastic force. The book you can get at guideforgrief.com.
Hmm.
Guideforgrief.com.
And then I'm going to put my other website, which is just my Shanti Das website.
Okay,
Because the other books, so I didn't even talk about this. I wrote my own book called Silencing My Shame, and this
I
is my
love it.
mental health journey. So both of these books are available on the Shanti Das website that I sent you all. And there's a link
ShantiDoss.com.
to
Okay.
the grief site on that one too.
Awesome.
But any
So I want to
questions for
get
me?
all of them. Any questions or comments for Shanti?
Or just your own, if you have your own
Yeah,
comments.
I have a question. I want to talk about, I know you do a lot in the youth space with Clark Atlanta University, the whole, all the schools right there in Atlanta. And how have you been able to help our young people? Because many of us have young adults, some people have
Mhm.
teenagers, many of our young adults are still at home,
Yeah,
trying to get them to launch. We're trying our best to,
yeah.
how or what kind of advice are you sharing with our young people? And what can you help us as parents do differently with our young people around helping them, helping to encourage our young people
Hmm.
without controlling them or even giving them more anxiety?
So
So, go
I'm
ahead.
always coming up with these acronyms. Let me write it down and make sure I remember. Listen. So one of the things that we hear, we always like to try to meet our young folks where they're at, right? Because we're the
Hmm.
adults. We don't live in their world. We're not privy to their conversations with their peers. And so first and foremost, so I created an acronym LOL. LOL, you can put it in the
Okay.
chat. So the first L is for listen, the O is observe, and the L is learn. You got to let them
Yes.
talk. You got to listen. And sometimes I know it's hard. And some parents will say, well, my child doesn't talk. He doesn't open up. But if you try to just meet them where they're at, sit down, play a game with them, invite them to fun things and not just things that's so serious for them, and really try to get down to their level, they will eventually open up and talk. And if that doesn't work, then trying to have them talk to a trusted adult. They may be more comfortable with their auntie. Like I know I'm really close to my nieces and nephews, and sometimes they'll open up to me in ways they weren't necessarily opening up right to their parents, or it could be one of their coaches. Just make sure that you're in touch with a lot of the people that you know that are surrounding them. And so, what we do, we go through the trainings, but we try to enlist the support of younger people, right? Peer support in mental
Yes.
health is super important. And they
Yes.
really, oftentimes, we've learned they feel more comfortable talking to people their age. So, we utilize a lot of our ambassadors to be a part of our programs. Once they've gone through the trainings, then we have them come
Hmm.
back and participate in panel discussions and activities, because when they hear from people their age, it's just
Yeah.
different because it's more relatable. And so
Right.
having graduated those 70 college ambassadors, they can now go back on campus, right? So they're not seniors.
Hmm.
Most of them, we try to get them at the freshman or sophomore level so that they can become ambassadors, and they still have at least 2 years left on campus so they can create those activities and do wellness
Hmm.
activities and projects throughout the semester. So the students feel more comfortable talking to one another. So that's one of
Right.
the things that we do. And the second thing we do is we try to push the importance of the counseling centers that are right there on campus.
On
Because
campus.
oftentimes what we
Hmm.
found, the students are like, oh, I know the counseling center's here, but I haven't really gone. So we try to bring in that cool factor and let them know, like, okay, let's break down these walls of shame and stigma, or even around the counseling center. And so we
Right.
make sure that that we're working really closely, because we don't want to work, without their support and participation. And so we just try to get everybody involved, and we also, like, for example, we have this will be our fourth year doing it at Morehouse. August the 26th, we have what's called STSU Fest. And so we have a bunch of vendors and
Yeah.
events that happen. And last year we had over 500 or 600 students that came through STSU Fest. It's an incredible
Awesome.
platform. And we had like DC Youngfly, who's a young comedian. He talked
Yeah.
to the students about mental health and wellness. And so, again, just trying to get young people to support young people, right? And to meet
Right.
them where they're at, and to do activities and things that bring wellness to the conversation without it feeling forced.
Right.
And so
Right.
then,
Mhm.
by the time we get them kind of comfortable with it and talking, because I will say this generation still is open, more open than I've seen in in past generations about talking about mental health. And so
Absolutely.
we just try to do things that we feel like resonate with the students and the things that they can relate to.
Young people talking to young people. There's a young lady that is a fairly frequent guest here. I think she might be 26.
Mm-hmm.
She's a suicidologist, and
Mm.
she really gives us great language to use
Yeah.
and how to try to your point, listen. And just even if it were just
Listen,
sitting,
observe, and learn.
listen, observe, and learn.
LOL.
That's so critical. Listening, I think, is all of it. All three are critically important. That listening thing is hard for a lot of us when we want to jump in and give advice or we don't like what they said, or, so many things. It's hard to purely listen and keep our mouth shut or just
And I'm
nod.
not, obviously, I don't have children. I'm not an expert, but we also make sure we incorporate licensed professional counselors who have experience
Yes.
working with you.
Yes.
We always believe in making sure that the clinical side is there too. So that's super
Right.
important for us is getting experts in the field who focus on youth and young adults to participate in
Which
our
is
events.
great.
So,
Which is great.
because
What
you
kinds
mentioned language and they know the language to you.
Yes, they know the right language, which we don't. I know I don't anymore. So what are some of the things you do personally now for your own health and wellness, your mental health, your physical, what are some of the things that you do that we can all incorporate in our lives?
So I think we all kind of learned this lesson during the pandemic is to just find what works for you. And so even
Hmm.
now, still, working remotely, I have to get up and take breaks. That is super important for me. But
Yes.
I usually go outside. Not that I'm such a outdoorsy girl, but I love being outside, just walking. Walking has become something that's almost sacred for
Mm.
me. I listen to the birds. I look up to the sky to like feel
Mm.
closer to my mom and my sister. I look for those red
Yeah.
cardinals and those moments of joy that I
Oh.
find peeking out. And so I'm very intentional about that. I take at least one vacation a year, maybe two,
Hmm.
depending on the budget.
Hmm.
But I like to travel. It doesn't always have to be somewhere fancy, but I believe in getting away. I believe in using that vacation time is super important because even though I run my nonprofit, it's structured. It's a business, right? So we have days that we take for mental health days, days that the office is closed rather. So I definitely lean into that. And then I have a group of folks that's on text that I can lean
That's
into when
good.
I'm having tough days. And I live by myself, and so sometimes the stillness is great. I'm sure there are people that are on the Zoom like probably got kids running around, a
Hmm.
husband, a job, but for me the quietness sometimes can be detrimental for me. So I have to get out of the house. I have to be
Hmm. Hmm.
intentional because otherwise I find myself in my thoughts, in my head too much. So
Yes.
just getting out of the house every day is good for me, whether that is going to exercise or going to meet somebody for breakfast or coffee or lunch.
Coffee.
I have to
Yes.
get out of the house because the stillness in those voice. I still, as much as I know, as much as I've educated myself around mental health
Hmm.
and wellness,
Hmm.
I'm still human and I'm still fragile. I'm still grieving. And so
Yes.
just this week, I had a really tough moment of missing my sister, with so much going on in the world and things around us. I like to stay informed. I like to watch the world news, but sometimes that can take you down the rabbit hole.
That's right.
And then I found myself just not spiraling, but just it wasn't a great moment of grief for me the other day, missing my sister. And again, I had to get out of the house. I was like, I don't care if I'm going to, just a mall or Starbucks. Like,
Publix.
let me just Publix, TJ Maxx, anything. Let me just
Right.
get out of the house and walk,
Right.
home goods, and just walk around, and be
Yes.
around other people. I do feel like silence and solitude, and isolation can be detrimental to
That's
us
it.
if it's not used in the right way. You know what I mean?
That's right. Right. There was
So
a
yeah.
woman that was here a few weeks ago, one of our callers who shared her grief, a lot of her grief story. And she said that one thing she does is she schedules a dinner every month. She puts it on her calendar. She schedules it. So it might be, July 10th. That's the date of her dinner. And then she invites girlfriends, a couple girlfriends
Oh, I
who,
love that.
each, but she says she puts it on her calendar and it helps her get out, of the
Mhm.
house, helps her get into a different environment.
Mhm.
And it's in a community, a safe community with friends. And like you, I'm sure the same. I don't see a lot of my friends most of the time because I'm
Yeah.
so busy doing, caregiving with my mom or traveling for something for work or, doing whatever. So
Mhm.
she plants that as a monthly date for
Mhm.
herself. And she
I
says
love
she looks
that.
forward that I do too. It's such a great idea. She looks forward to it every
I've been
single
trying
month.
to be more intentional with my girlfriends because
Hmm.
I am fortunate to have some girlfriends that we've been friends since the sixth grade. And
Yes.
the earlier this year we went to the New Edition concert. And
Oh,
Kelly, it was as if we were back in middle school. We
yes.
danced, we sang, we laughed, but and laughter is such a
Yes.
tool. It's such a
Yes.
tool, and I think it's important that we realize that to me, there's a difference between happiness and joy. To me, happiness is what's
Yes.
going on around you. Joy is
Yes.
what's in here.
That's right.
And so
I
it just
agree.
brings me so much joy to be around my girlfriends, and the laughter is good for the
Yes.
soul. And so that I
Yes.
agree. I love that. I'm trying to be more intentional about that. And then music. Last thing I'll say is music. There's this
Yes.
quote that I love. When words fail, music speaks. And so
Oh, I love that.
every day, Kelly, I'm listening to something. I'm taking breaks. I'm listening to some old Frankie Beverly and Mays or my Elvis
Yes.
playlist or my Michael Jackson playlist. And I'm just trying to do things that I know just makes me feel good in here. And music does that for me.
Yes.
Even though I don't work for in it anymore, I still have so much love for just the art form itself. And
I
some
love
of
that.
these, yeah, artists I've worked with, just follow.
Incredible artists. I remember.
Yeah.
And
So
I know, some incredible people. I
yeah.
love that. I remember Bob Johnson years and years and years ago, the early BET days, would always say music is the quintessential art form. And he said it every day. And back then, there was really no programming other than music videos. That
Hmm.
was, in those 80s and 90s. But
Yeah.
that really is a true statement. And I love when words fail, music speaks. That's a fabulous
Yeah, I love
quote.
that quote. And I when I was in college, I was a college DJ at the radio station.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I do now is I curate my own playlist. I'm a
That's
DJ in my head.
fantastic. That's
So
good.
that
That's
brings me a lot of
good.
joy.
That's good. I love it. You are a joy, and I'm so grateful for you and
Oh,
everything you do at Silence the Shame. I'm wearing this t-shirt, so you all can go to silencetheshame.com,
yeah, we'll put
donate,
that in the chat.
support. Yes, support Shanti's organization. It's phenomenal. And of course, support Sunrise if you like as well on our site. But Shanti has been doing this for 10 years and has been doing a phenomenal job helping people, helping parents, helping young people, older people, seasoned
Yeah,
people, whatever.
we've done with work with Jack and Jill, the NFL Players
Uh-huh.
Association, so many great organizations that we're grateful to have
Yes,
partnered with.
absolutely. Absolutely. I want to see his name. Oh, Nicole says, was she speaking at Lincoln Center a few years ago? Did you speak at
Yeah,
Lincoln
I
Center?
did. It was a hip hop
Yes.
panel.
Yes. And you were on Carson Daly New Year's Eve one night. I
So
forget what
it
night.
was not Carson. What's his name? Lord
What was it?
Menopause.
Ryan Seacrest?
Thank you.
Ryan
My
Seacrest.
menopause. That's a whole different podcast
I
or interview we
understand.
can do. But
Trust
yes,
me.
I was on New Year's Rockin' Eve in 2023, I think.
I remember that. I was
Yeah.
screaming from my couch and applauding. It was so good.
Thank you.
So Nicole says she has pictures with you. Nicole's been one of our incredible speakers as well.
Oh, hi, Nicole.
So it says Tony Blackman. Not sure who Tony Blackman is, but so hey Nicole, thank you for sharing that. And Jill says, thank you for all you do. It is so much needed. Yes, I agree. Shanti's phenomenal. So the organization is silencetheshame.com. And does anyone else have any questions or comments for Shanti? I just love your vulnerability
Do you think
and
you'll
how
ever go back
open.
to the music industry? It's funny, Vicky. The industry has changed so much with
Mhm.
AI and mergers and consolidations that I don't know what I would do in terms of my skill set. One thing I did always know was how to market artists, but again, the way you market artists has changed. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know what I would do, but I do know I love music. And I was even just, it's funny, it's so funny how God works. Vicky, that was in my dream. Somebody was talking to me literally in my dream before I woke up about the music business. And I think I had met with New Edition,
Mm.
something random. So I don't know if it's in God's plan. Because
Yes.
I'm always trying to figure out what's next. One thing I always took pride in is, working with my nonprofit, which, I don't make as much money, obviously, from my nonprofit that I made working in entertainment.
Mhm.
I always had
Mhm.
side projects going on. And I was always good at figuring it out, and I'm really kind of stuck right now and not sure what God wants for me to do next. So I'm just trying to, be still in a good way and let him guide me. But I still love
Yes.
it.
I have a huge idea I would like to talk with you offline about. So
Okay.
that would marry music and silence the shame and sunrise. So let's talk about
Oh,
it.
I would love
I have a
that.
big idea. I know that's one of my superpowers. I have big ideas. Don't always do
Boy,
them all,
you from the
but
ground
I would
up on
like to
down
do that.
have been
I would
hugely
like to talk
successful
about
with
it.
that. I would love that.
Thank you. And so, Dr. Vicky, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. Good morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
Shanti.
Morning.
Hi.
Um, Thank you so much for just sharing so transparently. It's just really powerful. The reason I asked that question is that just intuitively, I just feel like you're not done
Hmm.
in the music industry, having worked so closely with Sylvia and just the opportunities that you had and created for other people. I was thinking as Kelly was reading your introduction, I just want to reflect back to you that for those of us who have also been in the industry over the years, that you are legendary in the
Oh,
industry. Like when people think of Sylvia, if they say Shanti, like you're there. And I just want to
you're gonna
encourage
make me
you.
cry.
I just want to encourage you that you're not done, whether it's, I'm sure Kelly's going to talk to you. We probably hit the same aha at the same time. But I think you have so much wisdom, knowledge, experience, and passion to offer to emerging artists, to artists who are lost in the new way of the industry. You know, God, God's input in us is never wasted. That's what I want to say.
Mm,
And you've experienced so much loss that God just would not be God to let it end without your joy overtaking all the grief you've experienced. And when you talk about music, you light up.
mm.
You light up. And so I just want to encourage you that you're not done and just
I'm
stay
sorry.
open. And yeah, I just want to celebrate you and just edify you, Shanti, that you've done so much. I just see the dot, 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 like it's not a period, and that there's more for
I
you.
I appreciate that. It's hard at times, because this work is it's hard work, and
Mhm.
you're not in the same circles you used to be in. Although I feel like the respect is there. It's
Mhm.
just a different world. But who
And
knows?
getting
You're right.
funding is hard. We talked about that in
It
April when
is.
I saw
Yeah.
you. The
So
funding is
sorry,
hard,
y'all.
but
I'm a little emotional this morning.
it's all good. That's where we're here. And I love what Dr. Vicky said. You are a legend and you created so many incredible people's careers, So we know
Thank you,
that
Dr.
people who grew
Vicky.
up with, yeah, like I love what Dr. Vicky said too.
I appreciate that.
Yes, and I think she probably has the same thought I have. So we will circle back with you to talk about how we can do that together.
Okay.
That would be amazing. I want to just say as we get ready to wrap, people know I'm doing some caregiving things and I need to go do that, take care of that in a few minutes. But before we wrap, I do see there is, oh, Dr. G says mental health support should be a mandatory part of any compensation package and or contract, especially in the entertainment industry. Shanti, there may be an opportunity for intersection there. You are definitely not done yet. I love that.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
G.
Yes, thank you. I want to do this if we, and then one more comment. It looks like, thank you, Dr. Vicky, for saying that because the women in hip hop are not always acknowledged, especially if they weren't on stage. Thank you, Shanti, for your work and legacy. Absolutely. I agree.
Thank you, Nicole.
So true. Amazing, amazing legacy Shanti has. So I'm going to give you the last words before Dr. Vicky closes us out in a prayer. Your last words of advice for all the women and men that are on this call this morning. Just a couple last thoughts.
Sure. So, one, just thank you all for sharing virtual space with us this morning and allowing me to share. and be vulnerable. Vulnerability, I realize now, is my superpower. And so
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I've been able to open up and share in such an honest way. And so I thank God for that. And for those of you that just may be
Mm-hmm.
going through your own challenges, lean in for support. You know, we all have mental health. We may not all have a mental illness, but get educated. You can take mental health first aid training. We do that at so many other organizations like NAMI that offers it. You can go on our silencetheshame.com for a list of resources. If you have a child that's struggling,
Mm-hmm.
tell somebody, share it with a trusted, friend, your doctor. Don't be afraid to get the support for your child. They may not be able to articulate the fact that they need help. So try to find other organizations within your own communities that can support them. I have a family member who suffers with bipolar disorder, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
quite the journey. They're a young adult, well, more so an adult now, but just even in the last year, they're starting to thrive, and they're on new medication, and they're have a job now, and so hope, hold on to hope, y'all. That's all I can say.
Hold on to hope.
Hold on to hope, because the
Mm.
support is out there. We just have to be unapologetic and not afraid to get the support. And the last thing I'll say is I listed all the websites. If you want to reach out to me or my organization,
Yes,
get any of the books, they're there. I always like to end with this affirmation. So if y'all want to come off mute, you can. If you want to just say it silently. And so if you'll just repeat after me, I am love.
I am love.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I am kindness.
I am kindness.
I am everything I need to be.
I am everything I need to be.
I am enough.
I am enough. Hmm.
Thank you.
That felt good. That felt really good. Thank you for
We
that.
have to remind ourselves that we are enough. And so daily affirmations, I wasn't always that
Yeah,
girl, but I always, when I talk to God, I talk to myself too, and I have to encourage myself. And so
I
I've made
love that.
affirmations a daily ritual as well.
I love that. That felt really, really, really good. I hope everybody did it as well. Those are fantastic words and affirmations. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Love
you.
you to pieces.
Love
And
you.
I'll be in touch this
Yeah.
week.
Thank you,
And
everyone. I think
yes,
it's
and
going to
Dr.
be all of
Vicky.
you all.
Yes, and all the websites. We'll make sure we add to our resources page as well. And Dr. Vicky will now close us out in a prayer this Sunday.
God, we thank you for this is the day that you have made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for Shanti. Thank you for her life, her experiences, her testimony, her courageous sharing of her journey. Thank you that you're not through with her and that you're able to perform every good work that you've started in us. Thank you that you've given all of us all sufficiency in all things unto every good work. Thank you for Kelly and Dee and the work of the SonRise Project, the work that Shanti is doing with Silence the Shame. Thank you for every parent, every mother, father, every daughter and son that may be represented on this call today. Thank you that we are enough. Thank you that we are love and that we are kindness. God, help us to remember that our steps are ordered by you and that all things work together for our good and for your glory. And we expect to see your goodness in the land of the living and to leave a legacy that will impact generations to come in every way. We give you glory, honor, and praise for all of these things. Bring us back together again next week. And God, keep us today, reminding us throughout the day that we are enough. In your name, we do pray and give thanks. Amen. Have a powerful day, everyone.
Bye.
Yes.
Love you, Kelly.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, Dr.
Love you
V.
too,
Hey,
Shanti.
have a great week.
Thank you,
Have a
ladies
good
and
day.
gentlemen. Bye.
Thank you.